Welcome back to the Nancy Levin Show. I want to begin today talking about a truth that so many people carry quietly this time of year. And that truth is that they've already quit. The gym membership, wasted. The morning routine, forgotten. The new budget, broken. And maybe what hurts most isn't quitting the goal, it's the shame that follows. It's that whispering voice that says, you never stick with anything. Why even try? Here we go again. What if I told you that this moment, the one where it looks like you've failed, is actually a portal? It's a turning point that can offer you more truth, more clarity, and more power than when you set a resolution in the first place. Because what's really going on here, we don't quit because we're lazy. We quit because we're disconnected. We're disconnected from what we actually want. We're disconnected from why our desires even matter. We're disconnected from the deeper truth beneath the surface of the goal. And this is exactly why I encourage you to create New Year's non-negotiables instead of resolutions. In fact, I did a whole podcast episode about that a couple weeks ago, because resolutions are usually set up for punishment, for fixing what's wrong, for becoming someone different. But non-negotiables, they're set for pleasure, for nourishment, for remembering who you already are. Resolutions say, I'm not enough as I am. Non-negotiables say, I matter enough to tend to my own needs. Resolutions are born from guilt and shame. Non-negotiables are born from desire and self-honoring. And that difference, that distinction is what changes everything. Because when you are chasing a resolution, you're trying to fix yourself. When you're honoring a non-negotiable, you're coming home to yourself. One feels like work, and the other feels like devotion. So let's take a deeper look here at the timeline of people throwing in the towel around their resolutions, because understanding the pattern can help us break free from it. The statistics are quite illuminating. In the first week of January, about 23% of people give up what they've resolved to do. By Quitter's Day, which is the second Friday in January, motivation takes a nosedive. And by the end of January, somewhere between 43 to 80% of people have quit their resolutions. And less than 10% of people actually make it through the whole year. Now, when you hear these numbers, you might think, wow, people don't have discipline or they don't have willpower. But that has nothing to do with what's happening here. It's not because people don't care. It's because the resolutions often weren't real to begin with. They weren't aligned with what the person actually desired. They weren't rooted in genuine desire, and they weren't supported by the deeper work of change. So many resolutions are just born from a moment of inspiration, or more accurately, a moment of desperation. You know, it's midnight on New Year's Eve and you're evaluating your life and you're feeling behind or not enough. And you make a promise to yourself that this year will be different. But that promise, it's usually based on what you think you should want, not what you actually want. It's based on external measures of success, not internal alignment. So it's based on fixing what's wrong with you, not honoring what's right. And promises made from that place don't stick because they're not rooted in truth. So let's talk about what's happening beneath the surface when resolutions fail, because this is where the real work begins. Most resolutions come from the neck up. They're mental checklists: lose weight, save money, be more productive. They sound good, they look good on paper, but they rarely feel good. And here's why. First, they're often unrealistic or vague. I want to get in shape isn't a plan, it's a hope. I want to be more present sounds nice, but we don't know what that actually means or what it really looks like. Without specificity, without a clear vision of what you're moving toward, resolutions remain abstract, and abstract goals do not inspire action. Second, they lack structure. There's no roadmap, there's no milestones, there's no daily practice that connects the big goal to your actual life. You might have the destination in mind, but you have no map for how to get there. So you wander around hoping you'll stumble onto the right path. Third, they come from guilt. You feel behind, you feel ashamed, you feel you're not enough, so you overcommit to overcompensate. You promise yourself that you'll completely transform, that you'll do it perfectly this time. And that pressure, that all or nothing thinking, is exhausting. So the moment you slip, the moment you miss a workout or break your budget or fall back into old patterns, you collapse. Because if you can't do it perfectly, why do it at all? And fourth, and this is a big one, they ignore the root issue. Because here's the deal, your underlying commitments, the ones you don't even know you have, are running the show. And until you address those, no resolution, no desire to change will ever stick. So I'm going to introduce you here to this concept that truly changes everything once you understand it. This concept of underlying commitments. These are unconscious agreements you've made with yourself. They always override surface level goals, especially when those goals threaten the status quo. So here's what this might look like in real life. You consciously commit to waking up early and working on writing your book. But your underlying commitment is to not be seen, to not be criticized, to not risk failing publicly. So what happens is you hit snooze every morning, not because you're lazy, but because your system is protecting you from your vulnerability of being visible. Or maybe you consciously commit to losing weight, to taking better care of your body. But your underlying commitment is to stay small, to stay safe, to avoid the attention that might come from showing up differently in the world. So you sabotage yourself with late night snacking, or you skip your workouts, or you tell yourself it doesn't really matter anyway. These unconscious commitments are not flaws. They are protective strategies that your system developed a long time ago, back in childhood, to keep you safe. Maybe you learned that being too visible meant being criticized. Maybe you learned that success meant isolation or jealousy from others. Maybe you learned that your needs didn't matter as much as everyone else's. So your psyche created commitments to protect you. I commit to staying invisible so I don't get hurt. I commit to not outshining others so I don't lose love. I commit to putting everyone else first so I'm needed. And these commitments, they worked. They kept you safe in environments where being your full self felt dangerous. But what kept you safe back then is now keeping you stuck. Because here's the truth. You cannot willpower your way through an underlying commitment. It's not about discipline or willpower. You can't positive think your way around it. You can't manifest your way through it. You have to see the underlying hidden unconscious commitment. You need to name it, acknowledge that it served you at one time, and then consciously choose a different commitment that aligns with what it is you say you want. So how do we move forward here? How do we create change that actually lasts? We stop trying to bulldoze our way through resistance, and we start by listening. Because here's the truth. Change begins with your commitment to your own evolution and with honoring the space between no longer and not yet. This is not about willpower. It is about willingness. Willingness to slow down, go deeper, and realign. And that's where your vision and desire come in. But here's what I've learned. Your vision for change doesn't need to be created. It already exists within you, but it's likely been buried under guilt, people-pleasing, and the belief that what you want is too much. Desire is the soul's compass. Desire is what lets you feel alive. Yet we have been taught to distrust our desires. We've absorbed stories like wanting is greedy. You shouldn't need anything. Just be grateful for what you have. So instead of pursuing what lights us up, we settle, we shrink, we numb. We set resolutions based on what we think we should want instead of what we actually want. But I'm going to invite you here to take a different approach, to give yourself permission to want, to listen to your body, to follow what feels alive, because your desire and your new conscious commitment must be aligned. Without alignment, resolution crumbles. With alignment, commitments become devotion. So let's make this concrete here. Let's say your desire, your real true desire is freedom, not weight loss, not discipline, not structure, freedom. Then your commitments might sound like this. I commit to moving my body each day because it makes me feel free. Not because I should, not because I'm trying to look a certain way, but because movement gives me the feeling of freedom I'm craving. I commit to saying no to obligations that drain me because I desire spaciousness, not because I'm being difficult, but because spaciousness is what freedom feels like to me. I commit to turning off my phone by 9 p.m. because I desire peace. Not because some productivity guru told me to, but because peace is part of my vision of freedom. I hope you see the difference here. This is where the shift happens, from punishment to nourishment, from guilt to growth, from chasing to choosing. Because when your commitments are rooted in your actual desires, not in what you think you should want, they don't feel like resolutions anymore. They feel like coming home to you. If you are listening and feeling that tug in your heart, that knowing that you've already quit on something this year, I want you to hear me. It is not too late. And in fact, I've created something just for you. Join me for my Reignite Your Spark 5-day free challenge so you can reconnect with what truly matters. This challenge will guide you through 5 days of powerful inquiry, realignment, discovery, and truth-telling, all designed to help you reclaim your voice and your vision and your vitality. Each day for 5 days, you'll receive an email from me with a short video and a prompt. You'll also have a downloadable workbook and daily practices that only take 15 minutes. We will explore exactly what we've been talking about today, how your desire needs to be honored, and how to create an alignment between what you are most committed to and what you want most. Sign up right now at nancylevin.com/spark. Again, nancylevin.com/spark, and I will be in your inbox right away. Because you are not behind, you are ready to begin again. So let's talk now about something I call calibration. This is such an important concept. Calibration simply means checking in, reassessing, adjusting, noticing what's working and what is not working. So often we think if we've gone off track, then we have to start over from scratch. We have to wait until next Monday or next month or next January 1st. But what if you don't? What if you just paused, recalibrated, and moved forward with more clarity? You can always begin and then begin again, because here's what I know. It's not about the right step. It's simply about movement. Movement mobilizes possibility. That's really the heart of what we're talking about here. One aligned action, even a tiny one, is more powerful than 100 frantic ones. So if you've already quit your resolution, this is your moment to recalibrate, to ask, what was I really wanting beneath the goal? What underlying commitment might have been running the show? And what would it look like now to align with what I'm truly most committed to? You don't have to wait. You don't have to start over. You just have to choose again right here, right now. Listen when I say you are not weak because your resolution didn't last. You're not lazy. You're not a failure. You're out of alignment. And now you have the tools to come back. And so, what do you choose? Desire or duty? Alignment or avoidance? Growth or guilt? And let your heart answer this for you, because change is not about becoming someone new. It is about returning to who you've always been. That's reinvention. Underneath the noise, underneath the pressure, underneath the perfectionism, that version of you before you began packaging yourself to be palatable to everybody else. That version of you doesn't need any more resolutions. That version of you simply needs to be remembered.